Hey, how you doing, folks? This is our second show. It's seated Age Before Beauty with Larry and Nick. My name's Larry,
Nick.
and we're back at it again. I just was looking, and we noticed that Bernie Sanders is leading in the Nevada caucuses, and it says that he has a strong enough lead where he's going to take it. So, what are your thoughts on that? And who you think is going to be the front runner for the Democratic Party?
Well, I think that this Bernie Sanders, first of all, man, I have a friend that like really keeps up with it.
Mm.
He said he don't want to vote for him. Period.
Wow.
Now he has something with the minimum wage that he wanted because I actually got it in. I actually got the info right here on me.
Mm.
Okay, now check this out. Check this out. Okay, Bernie Sanders said at the last night debate he wants minimum wage to be $15 per hour.
Right.
Okay, so $15 times 40 hours a week is $600.
Right.
Okay, you take that $600, you times it by 52 weeks per year. That's $31K and $200.
Right.
Then Bernie Sanders wants free health care for all. Asked and how would it be paid for? His answer was to raise taxes to 52% on anybody making over $29K.
That's not true.
Per year.
That's not true.
You like, see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's kind of sounding.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So what he was saying is and this was the biggest misconception that was actually pushed out by a bunch of people who were who were going for Joe Biden and going for all the other ones. No, what Bernie Sanders was saying is he wanted to push up to a livable wage of $15 an hour.
Okay.
$15 an hour, yes, it would be $31,000 a year. That way, you won't have to make life-altering changes. So if you have to, if you have to go take someone, if you have to get health care, you can afford health care, still be able to afford rent, and put food on your table.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was talking about. The whole thing with the taxes, he's talking about raising taxes on the richest 1%, not raising taxes on everybody else. So instead of them paying 1% a year, they would have to pay 3% a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make $1 million, you have to pay 3% of that, which is what, 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are like Jeff Bezos and you work for 162 billion, in which didn't pay any taxes last year, according to the current tax state, he didn't pay any taxes.
Connected and respect.
Just like Trump didn't pay any taxes. They didn't pay taxes because they knew how the loopholes of how to keep their money segregated so that where they didn't have to pay taxes. So what Bernie is saying, no, you will pay at least 3% on however much you're supposed to pay it on. So if you make 16, like this year, Jeff Bezos after taxes, where his new earnings came out and he made an extra $62 billion.
What?
Amazon did. So
he made what?
Another $62 billion. So when you look at that and you're taxing like 3% of that, you're taxing 3% of that.
Another $62 billion.
That's like, yeah. Damn. So you're looking at what? You mean see?
That's so much money. It makes your face go ugly.
Oh yeah. But see, if you get 3% of that, 3% of that is going to be over $9 billion.
Gee, that's a lot of health care.
That's what I'm saying. And that's where Bernie's coming from. That's why that's where all these that's why the richest 1% keeps trying to skew the math.
They don't want Bernie. They don't want Bernie nowhere close to their
Exactly, because they know that if Bernie actually was able to do things, he's going to charge the rich more, which by charging them less has not helped. It doesn't help trickle down effect.
Because it's supposed to open up businesses and open up more jobs, right?
How many more jobs you see? And then, like I said, the problem is, and this is where everybody who's a Trump supporter, every black person who I talk to who is a Trump supporter, they don't have an answer for it. So if the trickle effect is supposed to work, then why is it that we still have people who have to make a decision on either paying rent or getting gas for the next week to make it to work?
What you mean?
Getting gas or buying food to feed their families. See, these are the problems that are facing. This is the reason why I'm still a big Bernie fan, because he understands that there are a lot of people who have to make these life-altering mistakes. I mean, life-altering decisions. Yeah. So if you don't have health care and your child gets sick,
what do?
You take your child to the emergency room, and then you're gonna have a $3,000 bill.
Come on.
But you already can't afford what's there already.
Another bill. Put
So
you in there. And then when you can't pay it, it's not that you just can't pay it. Now it goes on your credit.
Yeah.
So now I'm just digging digging a hole.
And that's where the whole idea of debt comes from.
That's cold.
That is why
that's some cold shit, boy.
How many people are living like that?
Yeah.
And then you turn around and Trump, and this is the thing. And Trump and his choose your own healthcare plan. What are 90% of the people going to do when they choose their own healthcare? They're going to choose the what? The cheapest one.
Yeah.
So if you have all these things that are on there that you can't be seen for because you only want to go with the cheapest thing, would say basically you can go to get physical checkup, for basic
flu shot.
Yeah. What's gonna happen if you get in a car accident and you get your knee messed up and you gotta go to rehab? That's not gonna be on your plan.
Dude.
What if you all of a sudden get cancer? What if your child gets cancer? Mm-hmm. What if something happens? Life-changing events happen all the time.
Unexpectedly.
Exactly. So trying to go with Trump's, you can choose your own thing and then you get to keep your pre-existing conditions, that's a lie. His lawyers are fighting in court right now to take away pre-existing conditions from everybody. He tried to get it kicked out of the Affordable Care Plan. He's been trying to get it kicked out of everything.
I mean, what's the use to even having it if your preconditions can't be helped?
It isn't no reason to have it. And the thing about it was, we used to having it where you say you're only paying $50 a month for insurance, but say you all of a sudden get cancer and you have $100 and something thousand bill.
Easy money, baby. Easy.
So what the single payer health plan does is that says that the government mandates what the health plan is, and the government regulates pills, everything, how much everything costs, all the way down to the red line. And who's going to pay for it? The richest 1%. Once again, y'all got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. You can take some of those hundreds of millions and put them toward helping and making this country a great place, because this country made you great.
True.
So that's why I say it's always
double standard.
Well, it's always sad to see when people, Bernie Sanders is going to do it. Bernie Sanders is not doing that. I would say do your own research. Get out and don't look at something with somebody passed to somebody online. Look it up, because Bernie Sanders is trying to take from the rich. He is trying to take from the rich, disseminate it, make sure that we're able to we don't have to make life altering decisions. We don't have to be worried about, am I going to be able to feed my kids tonight?
Well, like, not to take it off Bernie, and you know more of this than me. Mm-hmm. I know this for a fact. But the word on the street is back in the day, if Gore had won with his plan, we would be out of debt.
Yep.
Like America would be out of debt.
Well, under Clinton, under Bill Clinton, we had a surplus of money. Mm-hmm. Under Bush is where we ended up going back in debt again. Then you got to look at also with Gore. Gore had a plan to address the climate crisis. He was one of the first ones that was speaking out for climate change. He was one of the ones that was talking about we got to do whatever we can to protect our planet because it's the only planet we got. It was people that like good old Trumpy boy now talking about it's all a hoax. It's all a hoax. Even though seas are turning red, the water's warming up, bumblebees are becoming extinct.
Water warming up, shit. Yeah. Half the water is dangerous to drink around this motherfucker.
What's even bad though?
You know what I'm saying? It's contaminated around these joints.
But what's even worse now is that those ice shelves are cracking over in the North Pole, in the poles. So because those ice shelves are cracking, there is because the water is warming up and it's causing those shelves to crack. That's why now we're getting more and more water rises. That's why we're having more and more weather crises. We're going to have worse weather crises because you got to understand that the planet is trying to correct itself, mm-hmm. and we're still constantly destroying the planet. So it's a lot of things that's going on, and Gore was at the front of it all. He was at the front talking about this is happening, and this is what's going to make it worse, and this is what's going to make it worse.
It seems like people that are better for the people always have a problem winning
again,
or getting their agenda done, and then the people that are just on some other agenda of like, you know, monetary
of
or
course, because they want money, and the people around him then want money. They don't want things to change. China doesn't want to stop whaling. I mean, fishing for whales. They don't want to stop dumping toxic stuff into the ocean, into the seas. They don't care. They're thinking it's not a problem, because they want to believe it's not a problem, and it's not the everyday people, the ones who are getting cancer by stepping into a puddle. It's the rich Asian people who are sitting back going, "Oh, that's BS. I'm not gonna believe that. The Earth is too big," and da da da. And then now you take that into account for like the U.S. The U.S. is now Trump has opened up to where they're trying to start dumping stuff here and there. I mean, we're suffocating ourselves, and then when we hit the point where everything goes wrong, that's when everybody's gonna speak out and start saying, "Well, why didn't somebody say that before?"
Been there, done that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous subject. It's going to continuously be in
Because they were talking about the ozone when I was in elementary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's 2020, and we still ain't had no big ozone movement. I don't seen Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't seen the LBGT. What is that? What
LGBT.
And it's more stuff.
Yeah.
I done seen Vote or Die. But I ain't seen no strong push to gather all the people to take care of the environment, like a serious one.
The only person that was trying to pull she was making a good run for it, and she was very serious. It was that young lady Gretchen. I can't remember her last name. Forgive me, I don't remember your last name. She came from I think it was it Greenland or Iceland or something, and she was the one who was speaking out against climate change. They had her at NATO speaking out, and that was the one where Trump was trying to talk bad about a little girl. See, this is the type of president we have. This is the type of cat that we got in office right now, who literally believes that he can say and do whatever he wants, and it's just going to be okay. And then you have all these different things going on, and you have all these planets and all the problems. You have the coronavirus now,
and hold on, freeze on that coronavirus, man, because. I do believe it, but look, we got the corona, right? What, 5 years ago? What it was the swine?
It was
what about 7 years ago?
Right.
Then what you had the Ebola?
But see,
I mean, come on, bro. Like y'all making shit.
Ebola,
and I ain't trying to cut you off, but I got some info the other day. I can't make this up. They said they had the cure for AIDS in the 60s.
Well, I don't know about
in
that.
In the 60s.
I don't know about that part.
But I mean the cure that is patented. That you could Google it and it's patented.
Sure, I had to Google that.
Come on, me too.
Gotta see that.
Me too.
But the problem with the coronavirus, just like the problem with the SARS and mad cow, Asian people overseas, they what we consider pets and things that we wouldn't think about eating, they consider food. Asian people consider tiger food. They consider elephants food. They consider whales food, dolphins food. All those different things are food for them. So everything that they eat over there, you got to understand, if it's not prepared right, it's immediately dangerous. Okay. If it's not. So if you sit back, and then what happens is once that food, say you eat this bad food and you start getting sick, and then you start coughing, you're sneezing in your house, you're spreading that stuff. So it's airborne. So now it's become a communicable airborne disease.
But I'm saying, come on, man. Like, I can hear that logic. But like, this is my opinion. I don't believe that.
Oh.
I can't. Okay, let's get off the coronavirus because I really want to move back to AIDS. Okay. Now, AIDS was, from what I so-called heard, what, it came from a monkey?
That's a lie.
Right, and a monkey bit somebody, and then what? Okay. It just grew.
So you got to remember one thing, and this is one thing that's important.
Okay.
Any disease, when it's naturally made, has a natural way to cure itself. Any disease.
Mm-hmm.
When a disease is man-made, it has no cure. The reason being, the cure was supposed to be considered part of the virus itself. AIDS is a conditioned disease that was to attack your immunodeficiency. Attack your immune. Is why it's called immunodeficiency. AIDS was not something where all of a sudden it was a monkey in Africa that bit somebody, because if that was the case, why didn't we see more cases of AIDS?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So when you take the AIDS and like now the big
And
thing
how did the
is
AIDS?
the corona.
But,
I can't buy an Asian ate a tiger Africa or whale.
No. It's not
and
that
then
an Asian
coughed.
No, what happens is, and this is the difference between the corona and Ebola and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
The coronavirus and in the area where the coronavirus was originated from, you got to remember they have these big festivals and they have these big sales, marketplaces.
Mm-hmm.
They sell everything.
Mm-hmm.
They sell all of it, and like a lot of times, if you leave anything out, what's going to happen? It's going to turn bad. You have chickens hanging and ducks hanging from outside. Then you get people, okay, I want those 2 chickens. You might think it's fresh, but it's been sitting out all day. By the time you go and buy it, you take it home, you cook it, and say you don't cook it properly because
they've been doing that for centuries,
and they've been having diseases for centuries. That's why the first thing that China did when they had that thing, they followed normal protocol. Quarantine them up, let them all die out. Once they all die out, and everybody who survives, I guess they're not sick, and then we'll let the people back. That's how they do it. That's how they used to do it with the Ebola virus in Africa. Quarantine the villages up, let them die out. Let the disease die with the last person. Anybody who's still standing, either they are safe from it or either they're immune to it. That's how they've been doing things. That's why when China, the moment that the coronavirus came out, while they was on TV, and they was telling CNN and NBC, and they was telling ABC and CBS, you got about 5 hours to make your way out of this town. If you don't make your way out of this town, we're going to close it down. And that's what they did. Even when you were trying to make your way out of those towns, you could only go through certain checkpoints.
So how did it get to like America then?
Because a lot of times, and this is what happens, is a lot of times when a disease happens, they don't have the exact date when that disease actually came into action, when that disease actually manifested itself. So you could be over in China a month ago, laughing and talking with some people, had a drink, and laughing and talking. Somebody sneezed in one area, and all of a sudden it just found its way to you. And then all of a sudden you come back to the U.S., a month later, they're like, oh, these people are dying of this disease. And then they go, that's how you think they find them so quickly. Because they look at everybody who flew back from China. They go back a month and say, this is the day where we thought it happened. We need to start looking a month past. And that's when they look at all those tickets of all those people who flew in and out of the U.S. from every airport. They flew from China, from anywhere near that area where it happened at. And what happens? They always find it.
So you really think that this thing has traveled to America?
I think all diseases travel to America. You got to remember, all diseases travel because when you're in a plane, you're just getting recycled air.
True. I mean, but come on, man.
Believe it. I'm trying to tell you.
It's always something.
It is, because that's the thing that
we create. And it come
out
of nowhere.
Because those are the things that we create. We're creating these things. It's not like the coronavirus was a disease that was hiding out, waiting, saying, okay, to February 2020, I'm going to come out and I'm going to start getting people.
It's just because these things come and then they disappear.
They do, because, like I said, once you quarantine those people off, you allow them to you either say either we're gonna be able to heal them or they're gonna die.
So when the swine flu was here, everybody either died, and so the swine flu,
or they created a cure for it. So what they did was they created a cure for the swine flu because the swine flu was going through pigs. And the reason why
I never heard of the cure of the swine flu.
There is a cure for the swine flu.
So now there's a cure. So I can go to the emergency room and say I got the swine, and then they got the cure.
Generally, what happens is they're going to treat you for it. They're not going to give you the cure after that. They're not going to give you the cure until they're further along.
And how the hell you even know I got the swine flu?
because they can tell by the symptoms.
What? So it's different symptoms?
Yeah, you got some people. Everything affects people differently. That's what I'm saying. Everything is because you have the originator of the coronavirus. They the ones who are sitting back and they have the worst version of it. That's why they say, well, you feel like you got pneumonia, you feel like you're sick, you can't shake it, you got this, and this going on. So when you have all these different things that are happening around you, the coronavirus, they say, okay, well, you could probably have this, the coronavirus. And that's when they take it, especially because they'll say, well, a couple weeks ago you was in China.
Mm-hmm.
You was kicking it at this party, and you flew back to the U.S. Now, once you get on that plane, going back to the U.S., everybody who's on the plane, they are now exposed to that virus.
It's just so hard for me to digest that.
It is because
I just can't. I just can't see something happening in China and now in America. It's epidemic. It's just floating. The corona.
The perfect example. I'll give you the perfect example.
I mean, damn. What's next?
So when the supposed pilgrims came to the United States,
okay,
they had a lot of sick people with them.
True.
They had a lot of people who were sick with polio. You had a lot of people who were sick with the measles. You had a lot of people who was, because those were the people that was that they couldn't shake the cold or they couldn't shake the cough. So when they brought them to the United States, and they got them when the United States was supposed to be having that the Thanksgiving dinner,
yeah,
they was having those sick people around them because they wanted to see if that disease was communicable to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the natives never being exposed to it, it was wiping them out. So when the U.S. turned around and said, okay, so we need to think of ways that we're going to start taking this country over, one of the ways they want to do it, they was putting polio in the blankets. They was taking women who had gonorrhea, they was giving them to the natives.
Wow. See, hey, you never read that in the book.
Never. They were giving them the people who were sick with different diseases. They would bring those people around those people who were sick. And so when the natives, not ever being exposed to this, not able to build the antibodies in time to protect and save themselves, they would kill off whole villages of people who'd never been exposed, and all those villages, those natives died. They was giving them blankets and stuff. Mm. And that's why I say no law has ever been made out of creativity.
I could believe that.
All laws were made. But I'm saying no law has ever been made out of creativity. All laws have been made out of necessity, meaning that a law is made because it's been used against somebody else. Mm-hmm. And they said in order for us to make sure we protect ourselves and that they don't do it to us, we're going to create these laws. That's why germ welfare is a law. That's why they tell you, that's why they frisk and check and make sure. That's why they can hunt you down. The CDC can hunt you down because they have these laws in place to protect the people who now occupy the power, the seat of power, from being able to put those laws on somebody and in order for somebody else to do it to them.
That's just crazy.
That's the truth.
Wow.
And so when you look at things like the coronavirus and you say, well, how did it get to the U.S.? Of course it got to the U.S. Of course it got all over the world. It's over in Germany, England, Britain. I mean, it's everywhere.
I mean, that's still a stretch for me.
Based off of travel.
And what I do know for a fact, the late great, rest in peace, Dr. Sebi did cure people from AIDS.
Alkaline fever.
Yeah, like he did, and he got documentation, and in his world, it was so simple because it was just mucus, and like he was powering up, he knew how to rejuvenate the white blood cells.
What he would do is with alkaline water, he would raise up your alkaline levels in your body to fight the AIDS virus. Yeah.
And this was done in the 80s.
But you got to remember, too, also, one thing that you're forgetting, Chris Rock said it best. He's like, they're never going to cure AIDS. They just, because he said there's no money in the cure. The money is in
the medication.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where they make it. And that's where they make it. Look at it. What's that little dude's name? That one white guy. He had he had an AIDS pill. There was an AIDS treatment pill, and it was only like $16.
And he skyrocketed that damn thing.
And he made it like made it like $700 a pill. and then turned around and told everybody, well, I did it because, we gotta fund new research, which was a lie. And then he was like, well, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do, and if you don't like it, tough. Yeah. And then told Congress, got right, took his white privilege ass and got right in front of Congress and said, shit, fuck all y'all, I'm gonna do it. Yep, I sure did. And mess with me some more, I'll raise it higher. That's what it is. That's why you look at it, and that's where I say it's funny because, you look at the prices of pills in Canada, it's like 90% cheaper than what you would find in the United States.
Cold game.
You look at it over in Britain and Germany and Spain and Italy and all these other countries, the pills, the medication for everything is dirt cheap. But they're saying that if we had single payer insurance, that our economy would collapse. And we'd be paying trillions, and we do this. And the main ones that are purveyor of this thought pattern is your favorite Fox News.
What the news does, if the news does have their own persuasion, like the news can persuade you certain because they have their own agenda.
Well, of course, and that's why Denzel Washington said it best. He said if you watch the news, you're misinformed. If you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. So which one would you rather be? And they said, well, what's the cure? He said, you guys are the cure. Mm-hmm. It's you news reporters, you news stations need to do your job, but it's impossible for you to do your job because the people who are over you are telling you what you can and can't report on. You look at it, Fox News just blatantly lies all the time, but then they have one show. They have one news show that's on for 30 minutes that tells you unbridled truth. And then they can keep saying, well, we're Fox News and we're America's channel and we're telling you the truth. They can lie all the time except for that small block of 30 minutes. And they just keep saying that they're news station.
Because I have a good friend, that served time in Iraq. He did about 5 tours. And he straight up told me what was on that news was a straight lie.
I did 3 tours over there. I did Operation Provide Comfort.
Yeah. And what he was telling me was the picture that he was painting was just.
Fox News is a propaganda machine. They're a right-wing propaganda machine where they're going to say, and this is why they don't say, now when you have that 30-minute block that comes on every day, it's all true. They don't promote that news, that 30-minute news block. They don't do anything with it other than have the person sit there, tell the news, and that's it. Then they bring on Tucker Carlson that says that white supremacy is a lie. You have, the 4 who sit there and lie. And you got all these other, and that's all they do is they sit there and they spout out propaganda bull. Sean Hannity, who said black people need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You don't need, the president is not helping you black people out.
I don't know why everything is so great. We as people, black, white, Mexican, Italian, Sicilian, China, Japanese, whatever you classify yourself as, we need to get off this race stuff.
The thing about
everybody needs to get off of it.
Once again, the problem with that is
off of it.
The problem with that is
it's ugly and it's ignorant.
Well, not only that, but the problem with that is that, especially with me speaking as a black man, the reason why race is never going to die out, especially for somebody like myself, is because it's not talked about. They're not talking about it. They rather try and sweep it under the rug and say, we're going to just let this whole stuff be, rather than deal with it. Mm-hmm. Rather than come to honest grips with it by letting it all out. Talk about slavery.
Instead of trying to hide it.
Instead, not only talk about slavery, talk about the slave makers. Mm-hmm. Slave makers worked for Willie Lynch. They were his own crew that used to break horses, and then they used them to break black people. Because you can't take a person and put them on. Because when the first batch of slaves came to the U.S. and they put them in the field, those black people looked at them and tried to kill everybody on the plantation, which they turned around, promptly shot them all up, killed them all off, and they had to say, "Well, we can't do it like this. How can we do it better?" Willie Lynch said, "We have to break them like horses. We got to break their spirit." that's the only way they're going to be willing to do whatever you want them to do. You can't just put a person over there and put a shovel in his hand and say,
dig.
Yeah. They're going to look at you like you're crazy trying to swing at you with that damn shovel. But if you break their spirit first, then tell them to dig, they're going to dig. See, that's the difference. They don't talk about redlining. They don't want to talk about redlining. Redlining is why we have ghettos. Why the black people were mostly confined to poor areas is because everywhere that was rich, white people made sure that the banks wouldn't lend the money to black people to move into those nicer areas.
Yeah, very true.
You don't want to get into the idea of the judicial system that was made specifically and strictly to enforce laws that was going to give stiffer punishment.
Well, like especially when you get into talking about slavery with the what I found out like about 3 years ago. You know, about like 3 years ago. You know, I was doing my due diligence, but they would take the man, right, and they would literally call. You know, they would get people over. And they would rape the man. They would tie him up and rape him in front of all the other slaves and in front.
Oh, they did worse than that.
In front of his children, to like you said, to like break his spirit.
Right.
And you see this little boy that's growing up to be a man, seeing that, so his spirit is already being
they would do
broke indirectly.
They would do stuff like that. They would take black men and they would cut off their penises and use it and castrate them and have them around people and make sure that they would laugh about it and talk about how they had to castrate him because they didn't want him running rampant. You know, you have to talk about the rapes that the slave masters, and this is one of the things that people got mad at me about on Twitter because I was like, I find it hilarious that y'all talk about racism, how white America can tell black people how we're racist, but you can't even acknowledge that slave owners used to rape black women. All day. So
it was part of it.
It was part of it. So until these things are addressed, put in history books. Put in college courses. Put in high schools, grade schools. Put everywhere.
The truth.
The truth.
Instead of trying to shade it through real quick.
Or trying to throw Martin Luther King as a amazing hero of black people when you know that if he was alive today doing and saying what he was doing and saying then, he would be considered a domestic terrorist under Jeff Sessions' law that he created to call Black Lives Matter a terrorist group. So until these things are truly addressed, there's never going to be a point where race is not going to play a picture in it. Because then you got to understand too that race, black people are not the ones who keep bringing race up.
But that's what the agenda wants us to do. And like,
that's what they don't want us to do.
No. Like you said, until we come together.
That's the problem. That's part of us keeping us apart. That's a whole different other set of circumstances.
They want the black man to not like the white man. They want the white. That's what the agenda wants.
No, the agenda, what they want, and this is pure and simple. What they want is they want to keep black people bickering amongst ourselves. They want us to be worried about wearing these type of hats and wearing the $150 and $300 shoes. They want us to sit back and constantly have discourse where we could be at work and you'll have a guy that's mad at you because you're over him.
See,
and he's black and you're black.
See, and I differ because you have that elite, you have that 1%. Okay, they don't care if you black or white. We don't give a damn. The KKK,
right?
KKK don't give a damn. Now, the KKK are classified as Christian. You go to a KKK lodge. There is a Quran. There's the King James version, and there's another worship book. They don't give a damn who you praise. They don't care.
KKK only wants you on. This is the problem.
They don't care.
But see, this is the problem with that. When you say that we need to come together, we do need to come together, but we need to come together on common ground. See, that's the problem right now. White people are not willing to come down and keep it a common ground. That's why you have so many white men who are jumping on TV now saying that white men are losing their rights. They're not losing their rights. They just have to compete now. They have to be fair now. They can't walk into a job and say, I'm white, and hand you my resume, and all of a sudden you're hired. No, no, no. There are black kids coming out your age and younger who are coming out with masters,
True,
PhDs, and this is where the 1% comes into play. The 1% really don't care about racism. They don't like white people either.
Come on. Now you're talking.
What they care about is money.
Yes.
And if in order for them to keep their money, we have to keep everybody else bickering. We got to keep all these people hating. So we're going to keep pushing this KKK. Mm-hmm. We're going because it's the same people who are contributing to the Trump campaign that's also contributing to Bernie. Contributing to Elizabeth Warren, contributing to Pete Buttigieg.
Because they want to keep the separation.
They want to keep that separation because the moment that people start to see how life really is,
that's where your power and
your power and your wealth ends because you're going to get more people who are going to say, well, if you did it, let me go ahead and do mine, and I can do it for cheaper, I can do it for better. But we're never going to get to that stage because we have black people bickering with black people. We have colorism in the black community. We have toxic male ego like Boosie Badass in the black community. We have exchanges with LGBTQ, where we have certain gays who don't like other gays. We have black people who will turn around and say, and this is my thing I love best, but we killing ourselves. So what exactly did you do to stop it? Have you voted locally? Mm-hmm. Have you looked at mayors, judges? Have you looked at all these senators? What are you doing to stop that? Ain't nothing I can do to stop it. So then you're gonna allow us to kill ourselves out.
Basically. Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting in and you're voting for judges that are willing to look at black people as human beings just like they look at white people, to where if a white person commits a crime and a black person commits a crime, they get the same time, they get the same
due diligence.
They get the same discipline. Then we're doing something. If we're putting senators in there who are understanding that Jim Crow is something that can come back because every now and then you do see a white guy strap a black dude up to the back of a truck and drag him to death. You do see white cops who walk up to a car and they tell him, I need to see your driver's license now. Well, what do I do? And I need his ID. I'm not driving. It doesn't matter. Either I see it or you going to jail.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see that in the white community? No. Why? Because those cops know that if some videos like that came out from the white community, that cop would be fired. Instantly. You still have police chiefs, and I know for a fact because I have a few police officer friends that told me straight up, there's still police chiefs that come in and be like, we ain't got enough color in here, bro. We need to get some more color in here.
And I know and I know you're not a liar. So you wouldn't just say that just to be saying.
Why do you think? look. Why do you think those 5 cops in New York walked off their job? Why do you think? So they had the policemen's union. Why do they have the black police union in New York?
Come on.
In Brooklyn and in Harlem. Mm-hmm. So if they're all under the blue line of silence,
why is it 2 different unions?
Why is it 2 different unions?
And
why do the black people who still in the black police officer union, the white people still want them to pay into the regular police union? That the same police union that never says nothing to help the black cop if they get into a situation, but they will back up a white cop and tell the newspapers and everybody that it's the Blasio's fault. These things are all these things are connected. These things are not.
No, like you all right on that. Like they all connected.
They all connected because these are the people who are at the top who are saying if we keep these cats scrambling for scraps, we can still eat the whole steak. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing. That's what's always been done.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that now, with your generation and the generation before you, after you, now all of you guys are sitting back and saying, no, we see you. We see you. That's why when Joe Biden was talking about, I'm going to run, and I was with Barack Obama and those people, and all those young black kids was running up saying, what? Yeah, we remember that 1994 crime bill, though, Bill. Joe, you want to explain that?
Come on.
That's why he's falling in the polls. It's not the older black people who he's falling in the polls with. It's the young blacks that are standing up going, "We're not fucking with you like that." That's why That's why you see your Pete Buttigieg. Until then, when Pete Buttigieg had that cop kill that black dude and the black dude was found innocent with nothing on him. Pete Buttigieg got on TV. I have to do better. That's why he admitted he was wrong. That's why he's still doing okay. My problem with it is when Kamala Harris said I was doing my job as a prosecutor, I was supposed to put people in jail. Black people vilified her.
Yeah, they
the same way. The same way that black people will have. You can have a hair store here and a hair store here. The Asians will run this hair store over here, and the black people will run this hair store over here. Black people will go to the Asian, buy what they need to buy, and leave. Mm-hmm. Black people go to the black store, come up to the black person. So what kind of deal can I get, sister?
All day. Yeah. So until we start supporting,
did you ask the Asian person down the road there what kind of deal you can get? Oh no, that's why I'm here because she charges too much. So I was trying to see. Well, my prices are the same as hers.
Malcolm X said that we needed to work together, but he also did say that the black community needs to get their stuff in order first before
Malcolm X
people can work together.
Malcolm X said he said we as black people need to understand what our wants and needs are. He made this speech called the ballot or the bullet. He said, in the ballot or the bullet speech, he said, we have to make a decision. Either we are going to die by the ballot or we're going to die by the bullet.
Die by the ballot or die by the bullet.
If you're not voting, then you are condemning yourself to death. Mm. If you don't condemn yourself to death, you will get the bullet because they will come after you because your wants and needs, your voice is not being heard.
And it's in their hands.
Exactly. So the thing is, my favorite Malcolm X quote, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave it, but my favorite Malcolm X quote was, if you stick it, he said, this reporter asked him, he said, do you think there's progress with black and white relations? And he said, progress? He said, no, there's no progress. He said, well, what do you mean? He said, okay, if you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and you pull it out 6, is that progress? Mm. He said, no. The progress is taking the knife out, giving me the healing salve, to cover the wound, let it heal, let it get better. He said, no, there's no progress. Because he said, most of y'all don't even want to acknowledge that there's a knife in our backs.
Which is true.
And Martin Luther King himself said, where he said this one dude was like, well, what do you think about when people tell you to pull yourself up by the bootstraps? He said, the people that you're trying to tell to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, most of them don't even have boots. Mm-hmm. This is the problem.
It is.
And the funny part about it, how life is, we're back at that same problem. But the problem is that
just in a different form.
It's in the same form, just in a different type of people. But only difference is now is everybody has one of these where they can record, watch, and get all day, every day. But that's going to do it for Age for Beauty with Larry and Nick. We will be back very, very soon. We love you guys. Once again, please come check us out. Please subscribe. Subscriptions are very important to us. Please come and say, if you want to leave a comment, let us know.
Drop comments, baby.
Hey, we will be answering all comments. We will do our best to keep staying on top of the comments. Keep checking back with us. We're always putting out some new information. So thank you again. You guys have a great day.
Much love.
Thanks.